Good day. This is going to be a brief video to discuss the upcoming essay that's due on Sunday evening, the 19th of June. Right now you should be seeing the module that is part of the different modules. It's toward the bottom. If you scroll down, you'll see the one called Major Essay. And underneath that one, at the very bottom, is the assignment and the topic itself. For those of you who are not familiar with using Turnitin, this is how you will do so. You'll click on this. The assignment will call up. Here is the different topics. We'll look at those here in a moment. And then down here you will see a gray bar. And this bar is where you will actually load your essay. You will click on this and it will take you to the area. And you'll see that it says AP Turn It In. Now I have to close that off because there's somebody who's already turned in the essay and I can't let you see that part. They'll show the grade, but you'll get a submit button. So you'll scroll down, click on this bar, and then that will open up Turn It In for you to be able to submit your essay. The topics themselves are listed here, and we'll get those a little bit bigger so you can see these. The topics will cover points that are covered, mentioned, sometimes not very deeply mentioned, but mentioned in chapters 11 through 15. There are certain requirements for this essay. First, it needs to be at least 1,000 words in length. That's not really that long, 3 or so pages when it's typed out. I mentioned to you in a previous video that I am an English teacher as well, so I do expect to see all the hallmarks of good writing: correct grammar, proper mechanics, punctuation, sound writing, showing that you're able to look at a topic, understand that topic, and explain it. You need to avoid errors in punctuation, mechanics, and grammar. The length is suggested, and it's a minimum, but you can go over. The essay is to meet MLA standards. If you're unfamiliar with MLA standards, I do have a posting. We'll go back and look at that in just a moment to explain MLA standards. But that means that your essay will be double spaced. You will have a proper heading on the left hand side with your name, the class, my name, the date. Then you'll come down, put your title of your essay centered. Then you'll come down, go back to the left margin, tab over to have proper paragraph. And then you'll start typing your essay. And for every paragraph, you of course will tab over. For some reason, in the last few submissions, some students have been turning in basically a blocked essay where they do not have the tab margins for paragraphs. That's incorrect, folks. Paragraphs are to be tabbed over. All you have to do is hit the tab button once on your keyboard, and unless you've messed with it, it'll go over the proper margin-wise. Then you'll come back to the left margin, and when you've moved to a new paragraph, hit the tab button again and have proper paragraphs. Do not put extra spaces between paragraphs. That's unnecessary, but the whole essay should be double spaced. As you use information from different sources, you will cite that information. So you have to have proper citations for the textbook and any other source you're going to be using, and I'll talk about what those sources could be. This essay is due, as I said, the 19th, that is Sunday, and so please make sure you do that. The different topics include the first one about the Black Death. We have all just come through a pandemic over the last couple of years, and so this gives you an idea to understand that pandemics are not new, and that the Black Death affected populations in and around Europe, such as North Africa, Asia, present-day Russia, the Middle East, and then consequences of these areas near Europe. We always hear about how it impacted Europe, but how did it also impact the other areas? The areas such as Russia, for instance, and the areas in the Middle East. So please make sure you have covered that. And that's what this topic asks you to do. In chapter 11, it talks about the Gothic style of architecture and art, never really catching on in Italy. Instead, the Italian architecture in the 1100s to the 1300s, 12th through the 14th century, is focused a little bit differently on style and techniques and impressions. The Gothic style had that vertical style. You have the towers going up. You have the use of those spires, etc., all going toward the up. The Italian architecture this time doesn't do that very often. So instead, I want you to look up the Italian architecture of this time and discuss what it was, and also use specific examples. That means discuss key buildings that were built during this era in key areas of Italy. You can look at Florence, you can look at Venice, you can look at Rome. There are a number of other ones as well. But look at those and discuss how those reflect the Italian architecture style of the 12th to the 14th century. Number 3 asks you to look at the de' Medici family a little bit more, starting with Lorenzo de' Medici's death to the return in power in the 1500s. We have some details up into Lorenzo. They talk about Lorenzo the Magnificent in your textbook, but then it sort of stops talking about the de' Medici. So this topic asks you to pick up after Lorenzo the Magnificent's death until the late 16th century, the 1500s. What was the family doing? How did they return to power? How did certain aspects take place? Especially such as what happened to their family during this basically 100-year period. How did the de' Medici family manage to regain power in Florence? And why was this family very important during this era? So discuss those, and you'll find out some really fascinating facts about the de' Medici family beyond just Lorenzo the Magnificent. The 4th topic asks you to look at chapter 12, where we have some excerpts from Machiavelli's The Prince, and you have some key points. I ask you to look at those, consider those views, and to argue if this advice seems to be ethical and is useful. Is this the way a governing state should actually be set up in order to be successful? And explain why or why it shouldn't be. Talk about his view of humanity. Is he really being pessimistic, or is he just realistic? And so look at those details, discuss those. If you need to do a little bit more research on Machiavelli beyond just what's in the textbook, you certainly can. His work is The Prince, and that's what you want to look up. 5th topic asks you to look at Venetian painting, which is very different for the most part from some of the other schools, and asks you to compare the style in Rome and the style in Venice. Look at specific examples. So that means talk about 2 or 3 examples of each one. So 2 or 3 examples of Venice style, 2 or 3 examples of the Roman style. Talk about the way that these artists look at subjects. Talk about the use of color, the line, the spacing, and the idea of how the paintings themselves were developed and built and really created in the sense of the scope of those. So look at general commentary about Venetian school of painting, the Roman school, and then look at very specific works and analyze those very fully, and that will get that taken care of for this topic. The next topic asks you to look at the Venetian School of Composers. You have a little bit of that in your textbook in chapter 13, and it talks a little bit about Giovanni Gabrieli and also about the other composers there, and I ask you to look at them and discuss, do they really fit into Renaissance? And look at the idea about music history of the Renaissance period. And again, look at very specific examples to help support your ideas. For the 7th one, for those of you who are interested in science, the Renaissance, this is there that these are looking at, have some of the hallmarks of science and the earliest development of it. And I ask you to look at 2 of these 3, Copernicus, Napier, Gilbert, or Harvey. Now, some of these are in physics. The others are in a more a biology area. And so you can look at those. Again, you only need to look at 2 of them. So you're going to talk about each one of the 2, not biographically so much, but rather the contributions that each one made to science. So with Copernicus, most of you probably are familiar with that name and what he did in the sense of study of the universe, especially in regarding to the heliocentric idea that he presents. That gets him in quite a bit of trouble, of course, with the early Catholic Church. But you're going to look at the contributions and talk about what each one meant to science. And so you're going to talk about this idea of the development of scientific stuff. Harvey, for instance, especially in the field of biology and medicine, is really important. And so look at those and how each one of the 2 that you're looking at was regarded in the time when they were presenting their ideas, and also as we can look back a few centuries later about why each one is regarded as important. The 8th topic, last one, asks you to look at the Baroque world and the different areas in music, art, architecture, and literature, using some examples of each one. And you can look at those in the sense of what Baroque concepts is, in the sense of space, light, symbolism of light, time, emotion, and virtuosity. The Baroque movement that is mentioned in your book gives you some of these details, but you also have some videos that I posted. Each one's about an hour long, but they're really good. And we're going to look. I'll show you those here in just a moment. But these are the topics, and so you choose one of these, only one. A few years ago, I had a student who turned in a paragraph over each of the topics, and I had to send back a note to her. Luckily, she turned in early. I sent her back a note saying, no, you're supposed to write 1,000 words over one. You're to write a full essay. So please make sure you do that. And that's what you need to be looking at. Again, essay should be at least 1,000 words. It can be longer. You are to follow MLA format. That means double spacing, proper paragraph structuring, shorter responses, and MLA format violations, as it says here, will not be graded. So please anticipate that. Let's go back to the modules. And let's get this called up here. Here we go. And in the essay module, you'll see I have an example of a works cited page for you. So when you use the textbook and any other sources, this is how the works cited page should look. Again, I'll zoom this up a little bit. This one made a use of, this is not from your topics, by the way. This did not work. Joseph Cowley and the idea about sacred sites in Shintoism. And then this or this, either one of these two. Either do it this way or you can do it this way. This is how you cite the textbook. And so you can do it with this one, where you list each of the author's names, or you can do it with simply with Cunningham et al. In that way. But you are free to copy and paste this, and then what you would need to do is just change the page numbers here, because you're not going to be using pages 196 to 199 from your textbook. So you're perfectly free to copy and paste either one of these that you want to use, and then all you have to do is here change your page numbers for the use of the textbook. The other sites, I'm going to show you those in just a moment, that you can use. Come through our library resources, and all you have to do there is click on this one, and we'll do that here in just a moment. But I want to go back, and I've shown you the works cited page. Now let's look at the example essay so you understand how your essay should look. Again, this one is not over a topic for this time. This gives you an idea how this essay should look. Here's the heading. It actually should not be tabbed over. I don't give you perfect essays. This actually should be moved over back to the left margin. I'm not sure why this person did it that way, but I have permission to use this one, so I am. You have the title here, and then you'll see it's double spaced. The tabbing over for the paragraphs each time. You'll see the citation here. This information, although it's not quoted directly, is still taken. It's summarized from information in the textbook, so a citation is given. And there's the citation. This is called parenthetical citation because parentheses are used. Information is typed in, parentheses, and then the punctuation goes there after the citation. You'll see it again here. You'll see another one down here. Pace 18, de novo 72. Again, this information is taken from the source. It's not quoted directly, but it is paraphrased or summarized. So anytime you take information from a source, you must give credit for the use of that source. And again, you'll see this one where you have pace being used. This one is a direct quote. You'll see the use of the quotation marks. Here's the citation. Again, the name, the number, and then the period is given. You'll see again the paragraphing is done. Here's the ethical code that's offered from Cunningham. Again, more from the textbook itself. Here's from the other source. And you'll see that it just goes on through, and then here is the works cited page with it. Textbook, the article by Rebecca DeNova, and the article by Sharon Pace. And you'll see the sources come from EBSCO. This is through our library resources, which we're about to look at. But this is how your essay should look. It should resemble this when you get ready to turn it in. I mean, there are paragraphs, it's double spaced, there's a title. All those details should be part of it. And so you have an example there. If you need refreshing on MLA formats, some of the details about that, I have a couple of sites for you up here. This is the Purdue University Online Writing Lab. They were one of the first writing labs that ever appeared online, maybe the first. It's called the Purdue OWL. And what it does, this will take you to it, where it opens it up in a new formatting, new tab, and it simply tells you how to do it. And there's all the details about MLA formatting, style introduction, general format, how to do works cited, etc. So you have access there to a guide. So in case you need a review how to use MLA formatting, that guide is there for you. I also have for you a couple of videos showing how to use MLA style. And again, these are just a couple of different videos that will let you sort of listen to and be shown how to do that. So that's the essay topic. Now, and the idea of the essay. Now, in your chapters, for instance, chapter 11, you have details in your textbook. Here's that. But you also have some other aspects too to look at. These are videos about the Italian Renaissance. In this one, it talks about some different details about what that involved, including about art and architecture. The baptistry in Florence will give you some idea about architectural style and the discussion there. So those are part of it. In chapter 13, I have a little bit more about the Renaissance in Italy, the High Renaissance, and then the contrast with the Renaissance in Northern Europe, which is where you're going to get some different style. There are some other details here for you to look at as well. If you want to look at some of, I again have some of those aspects here for you, some additional sources. And then in chapter 15, what I have for you, this is about the Baroque, the essay, that topic that I mentioned about the Baroque. These are the videos, and there are 3 of them. They're really very good. This one is also a nice video where it does talk about architectural style, and that might help you some as well, especially in regard to some of the aspects about Gothic. But the individual who does the Understanding Art, the Baroque series, the 3 videos, is Vladimir Januzak. I usually just call him Wally. He's very entertaining. He's very knowledgeable. And what's really good about these videos, he goes to the sites. He takes you into the museum so you can actually see the scope of the paintings. In our textbook, you'll have images. You'll have pictures of some of the artwork. And they'll give you the dimensions, but it may not quite convey it as fully as actually what this video will do. As he goes in and he stands in front of the artwork, where he takes you to the works of architecture and what is going on there. And so the details of all that. The really good views about those is that he lets you see the architectural styles up front and in person about it. And it's really very useful in that way. So you might find quite a bit using it there. So again, those are part of what you can look at and use as you're trying to do the for additional information. But also what you would want to use are our library resources. The reason I'm mentioning the library resources is we know these sources are credible, they're academic. What you do not want to do, folks, and I'm sorry I have to say this to you, when you're writing an academic paper, do not go to most .coms. Do not go to Wikipedia ever for academic purposes. You do not want to use those. What you can do is simply come down here and type in, let's see which one I want to go with. Let's go with Giovanni Gabrielli. I think I got it right. Now you have to log in. It's the same login you use to get into Canvas. Probably should have just put Venetian School of Music, because I don't think his name's Giovanni. It's Gilberto, isn't it? I'm thinking one of the other artists. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. Well, what happens here, you get a research starter. Oh, was it Giovanni? Okay. I was thinking, I thought I had the name wrong, but I did not. So you click on that one, and what it does, it gives you some details about his early life, his views. It says he's typical composer of the Italian Renaissance. Talks about his life's work, about the music of Venice, the details, the use of certain musical instruments that are part of it. As it says here, the music instruction that are part of it. Here's details that imparts a feeling of opulence. It goes into more details about some of the details here and about the significance of Gabrielli's view here. So you can look at those, and also shows you some of the other aspects that you can look at. And so, again, you can look at that. It's really useful. Helps you get started. Let me go back here in just a moment. You'll see that there are other articles as well. Bear with it just a moment. Yeah, here we go. The music of Gabrielli. This one is, of course, an article in Italian, so if your Italian is good. This is the idea about the relevance of compositional technique. One thing that Gabrielli and the other Venetian composers did was work with the idea about techniques in composing. And here's the idea of this is a really good little article. I think you can access it. Let me make sure. Some of these, sometimes we don't always get access to. They'll pop up, but for some reason they've been stopped for us being able to get into them. Yeah, this one we don't have access to the actual to. It's just a review anyway of the book. So it's not the actual article. So let me go back here just a moment. But you can see some of these. This one you have used to. You go up here and see if I can get this fixed so that we can make sure we get full articles that are offered here. I'm not getting what I need over here. There should be a way that I can click and just see full articles, but you have access to some. They'll tell you and so you can see the latest style, and again, different ones you can look at in this way. And so that's one way of finding articles. There's several there. If I go back to a basic search, bear with us just a moment. And I just want to put Venetian music. Oops, let me get Venetian right. There, okay. And so I click there. It'll call up a list. Monteverde is mentioned. You have the Venetian music trade is mentioned. You have music printing. You have a number of different areas that you can see this that are offered. And much of the music, of course, of this era is going to be related to the church. So you can see some of the details here as well. So that's a good place to go. If you're looking at Machiavelli, for instance, let's go with Machiavelli. And we go Machiavelli the Prince. Again, bear with just a moment. There's the Prince. There's the research starter. And again, it's a really nice where it gives you a summary of everything to look at. And this is what I was looking for earlier about the full text. You should have an indication that the article is there for you to view. But this is one for you to look at about the work itself, what he tried to do within it, this idea about details about power, which is what our textbook talks a little bit about. And then you have other articles. This is what I was trying to show you earlier with the one about Gabrielli. You'll have an indication that you have the full article here. And you can just click here for it. Or you'll have the full article here and just click on that. So you'll see that quite a bit are here. And this is talking about Machiavelli and the fate of politics in the modern world. It's a really interesting article that you can look at. And again, it's here, full text. One of the nice aspects, and then we'll just go to this one because it's a good article. What you do have when you go through our websites, you'll see some little side images here, little icons. And each one of these allows you to do certain aspects. You can do some folders. You can also, get that one working here, come on. It's not wanting to show. That does the citation. It's supposed to say cite. But you'll see here it is. You just have to copy and paste this right here and put it onto your works cited page. Has to be fixed a little bit because it never copies properly. Here it looks right, but it doesn't once you copy it in. But it doesn't take long to fix. But there's all the information that you need for the source. So you can, all the articles will have that. And this again is a really good commentary. In case you're interested in writing about Machiavelli. So let me go back. I'm going to show you the research. We'll go back to this one, the research starter. And it also has a citation done a little differently here. And so you have the details here. And again, you have the information that you can look at. And off to one side, there's supposed to be a cite tool, but I don't see it here today. So, but it'll be there for you to be able to cite this one as well. And it'll show you down here this idea about the source and the details here. And so again, this is a good way of finding information. So you want to use our library resources. You do not want to go out to just .coms, especially not Wikipedia. We'll make sure that you're using credible sources, and if you go through our library, those are credible sources. So hopefully this helps you to understand about the approach to the essay, what you need to do. It's basic research. It really is. It's just a basic research paper. And again, I have an example for you here to look at. I have the details about MLA formatting for you. And then the topics are here, and this is also where you will click on this. You'll see the topic come up, and then you'll scroll down. The gray bar here, you click on, that will open up, turn it in, where you will then submit your essay. So I'm looking forward to reading your essays. I hope you'll enjoy getting a chance to learn a little bit more than just what the textbook can offer. Textbook can only give you so much, especially when it's trying to cover such a wide range of topics. Well, this gives you a chance to specialize on something that may have caught your attention. So I'm looking forward to watching this, reading this. I hope that you will have a chance to watch this. I will post this soon, and I will send a note out as soon as it's posted.